Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. Let's go ahead and jump right into what we do every morning here. I want to talk about yesterday and what we were anticipating here before the open. And remember, we had some bearish stuff that we could interpret off the highs, but on the pullback, and let's see if we can go down to the hourly here. On the pullback from the overnight low, we talked about seeing a decent hourly bullish signal down here, and we had to see, given that everything wasn't really aligning yesterday, we had to see whether the bulls were going to break out of this pocket here and break out of the overnight high, or whether the bears were actually going to jump in and actually pull the market below the overnight low, and that would give us a clearer picture as to what we wanted to do. Well, what happened? We broke out again from that nice hourly signal off the overnight low that we were looking at. It actually got the follow through. I think we talked about saying, something about if this signal will hold, which is a really nice, clear hourly signal, then we want to see the bulls go ahead and break out through that overnight high and then start to rip higher here. So that's exactly what happened. We got a nice breakout from there. And remember, we didn't know before the market opened which way it was going to go. So we had our line in the sand, the overnight high, and the line in the sand off the overnight low. And we needed to wait and see which way it was going to break before we had any confidence in any direction. So we got the breakout through the overnight high, and then a really nice bullish rally to push to new highs for the year, getting closer and closer to the all-time high, all the way up around 49.30 up there. So we've got a couple more hundreds of points here, and we'll be back to that all-time high. And let's look at what happened here. So if we go down to the 512 tick, guys, I'm really proud of what happened here. Let's go back to the open, and let's look at what happened here. So if you remember what I told you guys just before the market opened, or I think a minute after the market opened, I came back onto the broadcast and I told you to be aware of this sell-off from, again, the high of the year all the way down to the overnight low, down around 45. Was it 45, 44? I had a different number in my head. I don't know why. So all the way down to 45, 44. And I told you coming into the open here, if they could get through the overnight highs over here, we do have the 61.8 in the way. So that could always be a problem. And then if they get through there, we were looking for, a continued push. Well, sure enough, the biggest pullback of the morning here, actually, I guess the biggest significant pullback once we broke out here was the 61.8, right? They came right up. It turned one tick in front, peaked through it by 2 ticks, and then we got the pullback. And interestingly enough, came right to the 200 moving average there and tick in front of the holy orange power level, and then that was it. Started to rip higher. So why am I proud of yesterday? I'm proud of the fact that, well, first of all, we called the first rotation point once the market broke out, which was that 61.8 area, and then the market rode the 200 moving average the entire way up. Now, I think there was one breakthrough at some point, but this is the critical thing to understand here. We were waiting yesterday, if we go back to this 60-minute chart, we were waiting to get outside of this pocket. If we could get through the overnight high, we had a little bit of a clue for maybe a continuation by the bulls. But if the bears could bring things back below the overnight low, we were expecting that pullback. So let's look at what happened. Once the market broke out through that overnight high, and this was the range from around 45.55 down to that overnight low. Once we could pop through there and significantly stay above it, we were expecting the bulls to push. So once we held on the pullback off the 200 and continued to push to new highs, well, you had perfect opportunities to enter as a bull and ride the market up again with how much risk? In this case, it broke one tick below the 200. In this case, it broke one tick below the 200. In this case, you got an opportunity, but then again, swatted off the FMA and came back down a little lower. That's the biggest break through the 200 of the day, and then it continued to ride it all the way up into the end of the day here. I mean, guys, this is why we use the levels we use, right? And it continued to hold the FMA in many instances on these strong pushes right back to it for opportunities, even if you missed the 200. And that was really the name of the game yesterday, was to buy the market once we got the breakout through the overnight highs and we started to rally. So if you didn't get in on the pullback to the 200, which is what we talk about nearly every single day here, I don't know what to tell you. You got a trade with, again, one tick on the ES of risk, which is unbelievable. And it pushed, let's just say you got in off the first test at 45.53. It pushed nearly 30, 40 points before the market pulled back at the end of the day. And then what happened when it pulled back at the end of the day? Came back down and then held the back end of the 200. Tired of talking about this. It's like the same thing every day. Came down, held the back end of the 200, and pulled back, to finish the day off there. So, pretty awesome stuff. These are the days that we're waiting for. Remember, some days are going to be choppy. You're not going to have trades that get follow through. And some days you're going to put a trade on. It's going to be the easiest day of your life. You're going to put it on. You're not going to take on any friggin' risk. And then the market's going to go 30, 40 points in your favor. And again, that's why I trade with multiple contracts. That's why I go for bigger targets. And again, I'm not saying I would have held with one position here, the rest of my final contract all the way out, 40 points from where I got in. But I had plenty of opportunities to continue to add to my position all morning and rally and what's the word for it? Kind of daisy chain those profits off. So awesome stuff. I'm really excited with what happened here. And let's go into this morning. Let's just take a look on the shortest time frame. What's happened here so far this morning, and what do you know? We're riding our scaffolding level nearly to the tick here and continuing to stay above it. And it obviously was very choppy here in the overnight session, but still some beautiful holds right off the levels we watched. There's the 200 to the tick, 200 to the tick, holding the 200 nearly to the tick for the pullback. Now we just held it and the VWAP here for this next pop up. So nice stuff going on so far. Let's go up to our higher time frames now and see what the charts have to say for this morning.